Hello and welcome back. My name is Greg Tomczyk, CEO here at Valor Cybersecurity, and I'm extremely excited about this session today on a question that we continue to get as the rush in the ecosystem for CMMC readiness and compliance continue to ramp up. Obviously, this has been out since 2019, and since 2021, we've seen a ramp up and then kind of a ramp down, and then 2025 came and made it an actual law where certification is required in certain contracts. And we're seeing a lot of confusion in the market and in the ecosystem, both from the service provider perspective, as well as the customer, the defense contractor, the defense manufacturer, from both sides of the aisle. So we want to put on these sessions periodically. We do these weekly on a variety of topics. So you can check out the other episodes down in the comments directly from our YouTube channel. But today I want to talk about the difference between actually getting ready, so CMMC readiness, and then actual CMMC certification have been extremely blurred up to this point because early in the ecosystem, there were C3PAOs that were getting their certification credentials to be able to go certify a defense contractor. And there was nobody getting certified. So these folks would go and do readiness work while they waited for the audit ecosystem to come about. And what that trained companies to do is, you could go to this one company for the audit and they'll help prepare you for the audit that they're going to do. And obviously that's not legally able to be done. We still had a lot of companies that were doing that because the rules aren't really clearly laid out to be able to punish or allow see those two people or that the one person or two people in an organization in the same organization trying to audit or assess something that they help prepare for. So you basically have a lot of confusion from the defense contractor side to the contractor side on where they need to go and what the actual process to get from where they are today to fully certified. So whether you're just starting out or halfway through the requirements, you have to actually go through a full readiness process, and it's better to do that in a structured way. Most companies have been preparing over 5 years. They have a lot of operational debt when it comes to the actual preparation for CMMC. On top of that, the scope of applicability, so the actual scoping of CUI and FCI, which are the sensitive information that is associated with these requirements. And you can apply this to any requirement, FFIEC, any compliance requirement that's related to cybersecurity, you can apply this same structure. But we've taken more than 100 companies through our 6-month program. And what we've realized when we establish that clear 6-month structure is that it becomes muscle memory for the client to know what is next, the customer, the defense contractor, to know what is next so that they know where the potential pitfalls are that they should avoid versus what a lot of companies were doing is they were praying and spraying. They were buying a bunch of tools, they were signing managed service contracts, they were having somebody come and do a gap assessment. They were trying everything to try to get the end state that they felt that they needed, which was either self-assessment or certification. And there was a lot of missteps, a lot of pitfalls. We saw those early on and realized we needed to create an actual program, not just a consulting engagement, pay half up front, half at the end. You have 6 deliverables. It just doesn't work for this process. People, because of the integration and the need for the organization to buy into this effort and to be involved, you have to have a structure that they can align with and clear expectations that are going to get to that ideal end state, which is self-assessment or certification. So two really distinct activities: readiness, which is assessing where you are and where your gaps are, prioritizing that, budgeting for it to be executed upon, and then continually moving the needle. So having somebody oversee the program that is being developed. Where a lot of companies got stopped is in CUI or FCI scoping. They say we don't have CUI or we do have CUI, but we don't know where it is. And then that whole mapping exercise that we go through really in months 1 and 2, sometimes we will elongate that process because it's such organizational change to get people to agree on a specific scope that's going to mean either more or less dollars or more or less risk at the end of the day. So that in combination with the actual clauses in your contract. So what is DFARS 7012, 7019, 7021, 7025? Where do those come into your contracts? And then what are you actually required to do? A lot of prime contractors are blanketing over subcontractors the requirements that they have versus actually looking at the contract that either prime or sub has and say these are our actual requirements. The prime will do that, but then they'll trickle it down and flow it down to subcontractors, assuming that they get CUI. So you really have to have somebody internally that can speak the language and be able to go back to either the prime or the contracting officer and say, this is the nature of our work on this contract. We would like an exemption because we don't have CUI, or we would like to, have some type of alleviation or exception to be applied because we don't have this information or we don't have it to the extent that you believe we do. That's an important conversation. That should be taking place right at the front where a lot of people avoid it. They get into GCC high, they spend 100 grand plus on great tools, and they realize they're not even close to compliance because they applied it to the wrong scope or they don't even know what the real requirements are. So that's first and foremost. Review your contract requirements. Think about how you do business on that specific contract, and then actually scope the nature of information and how it flows through that business process that you're delivering, whether it's a product in the manufacturing space or a service. That's really going to start the process of readiness. So you're still in the readiness phase at this point. You're scoping out the environment so that you can see what those requirements should apply to. And that's a gap assessment. You want to make sure to prioritize that gap assessment. Use the gap assessment to have a baseline SPRS score, which is a lot of the requirement for many of these companies today is to submit a self-assessment and a SPRS score, which basically says where you're at from a negative 203 to a positive 110 when it comes to the controls you've implemented and not implemented. That's extremely important. We don't see a lot of companies actually think about the gaps in a prioritized way that they can actually budget and spend dollars towards. That's extremely important in this process as you move the needle forward. And then engaging with somebody from a technical perspective that can implement if you don't have the internal resources to do so. Those are considered IT managed service companies. We don't do tools or technologies at Valor for a reason, because we're able to provide a vendor agnostic approach for leadership teams to look at options based off what we believe and what they have spoken into us on that would be best for their business, versus a lot of companies go buy a template or a structure that really is never going to fit the mold of their unique business and how they're operating. From there, it's really implementing with your technical partner a lot of the technical configurations, rules, and requirements, using the tools that they have to save time and money, and then mapping those to the requirements and then documenting everything that you're doing in a structured way. Obviously, system security plan, policies, procedures, incident response, and then resource plan. Those are the core 4 documents that you're going to want to look for to be audit ready. And then as you start to get that formalized, where you have the technical tools, you're doing the activities, everything's documented to prove it, at that point, you're nearing readiness to actually start to talk about what does a certification look like, and then to get on the schedule with a certified third-party assessment organizations. And there are many great ones out there. We always recommend going with one that understands your nature of business. If you're in manufacturing, you don't want to get a C3PAO that has only done, defense services or, laundry type services for the Department of Defense or Department of War. You want to get somebody that understands how to audit your specific environment. It may not be the exact nature of your business, but a general paint stroke, manufacturing, services, commercial off-the-shelf products, software. They need to have a background in what you're delivering to the government, and that's going to save a lot of effort from their side, which is going to equal save dollars from your side. So that's extremely important. And then when you you're now ready from a CMMC readiness perspective. So you're able to report on it, you're able to self-assess, and then now you need somebody when you get the requirement to come in and actually do the certification. They're calling that an assessment. It's a certification assessment. I bucket that into an audit. It is them auditing against the requirements, what you have in place. It's an audit. Whether they decide to call it an assessment or not, it is certifying you, auditing you to see if you're in alignment with the requirements to get the stamp of approval for that 3-year audit cycle, unless there's a significant business change, which you can look up what those are. So that gets you up to certification. You get on the schedule, you get certified, and then throughout the 3-year process, once you get the certification, you'll get questionnaires from primes to make sure you're staying up to date. And then you'll get to that kind of 2-year, 6-month mark and schedule the next certification. That's going to be the drumbeat. But where a lot of people are missing right now, even though companies that have gotten certified early, and we had a couple of those as clients that were the first 10, 20 to get audited and certified, is they get a sigh of relief, which is definitely something that they need to do, but they forget that they have to maintain and keep up with this program. And that's only where a lot of people drop the ball. Then they have to rework later because as the business is changing, they're not updating their CMMC alignment. So that's kind of the process here. Readiness versus certification. And this is true across many of the other audit frameworks and requirements as well, HIPAA, some of the others that have similar components. But CMMC is unique because it's centered around national security and defense. And that's why we like to operate, because it's high stakes. There's a lot that they could lose as a contractor. So we're able to help them minimize that loss and the potential of that loss because of the expertise that we have and the structure that we've built in order to put people that want to do this through the process that works each and every time, because we have the steps laid out and exactly what needs to be expected and where we've seen things fall short, so we can push proactively if we're not getting leadership buy-in or accounting isn't getting back to us on the process they have in this equation. We're able to push those things early indicators. So that lays out kind of the difference between readiness and certification. If you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to us through our website, and we're happy to walk you through that process. I also want to mention a new program that we're putting out in partnership with 757 Defend, which is a defense technology accelerator here in the Hampton Roads region, based in Norfolk. And one of the things we've realized is there's a lot of young, innovative companies that are now getting CMMC requirements in order to win their first few contracts. And if you haven't been around a while and you can't spend government dollars on CMMC, from between, what is it, like 45 to 75K, almost up to 100. So, if you can't drop 45,000, we've created a program that bundles up our structure and our expertise into a group-based accelerator. We're calling it the CMMC Accelerator Program, powered by Valor, but offered through 757 Defend, which is a great organization that puts defense technology startups, both small and mid-size, through a uniform program to enable them to get more contracts. And this is a barrier to get more contracts. So we are offering our CMMC process and structure at a fraction of the cost, because this is going to be in a group with other innovative defense contractors. There's definitely some group think that's group benefit that's going to come to you as somebody in this program. So if you've been thinking about CMMC readiness, you've been, pushed to kind of think about it, but still have not taken action, this is the ideal throughway. The door is open. You can apply through our website, and if you ask for the link, I'll go ahead and send you the link as well for your convenience. We'd love to have you in that accelerator, and you can always convert to our regular 6-month program if your timeline speeds up. But we want to give you a clear entry point, lowers the barrier for all the young, innovative defense companies, that are looking to do this but don't have unlimited budget to be able to spend on it. We'd love to have you in that program. You can always reach out to us at valor-cybersecurity.com. We'd love to hear from you. If there's other topics you'd like me to cover through these sessions, would love to deliver that for you. We love supporting the defense industrial base, and we'll continue to do so each and every day. My name is Greg Tomczyk. Until next time,